Well, good morning. It is still morning. I just looked at the clock. It is still morning. It's unusual for me to get started this early, but I'll take advantage of that. Uh, we're all confronted with decision making all the time. I know that I am, certainly recently, more and more often as I get closer and closer to some kind of new normal as I continue to recover, and then like rejoin the living. And a big part of that is decision making because life is filled with choices and we have to deal with that on a regular basis every day. And that got me to thinking about critical thinking, not just thinking, but critical thinking. And I try to do that. I try to think critically almost all the time. I say try, recognizing that I would probably get an earful from Yoda, who would remind me to try not to do or do not, because there is no try. But that doesn't help because we still try because we're still human. But this whole notion of critical thinking is important, I believe, and I think there's far too little of it evidenced today everywhere. Um, Certainly in government, and it's perfectly bipartisan. I don't think anybody's got a lock on thinking critically or not thinking critically. I've seen it practiced with equal with equal abandon on both sides of the aisle politically. But I thought it would warrant a discussion of exactly what is this notion of critical thinking, um, and why it's important. Well, it's important because critical thinking leads to better decisions, and I don't think there's an argument with that. But if you break down critical thinking into silos, into areas of consideration or things to consider, it starts to make a lot more sense, especially about why critical thinking is so important. First and foremost, if you're thinking critically, you're more likely to challenge all of your assumptions. Now, assumptions are important. I mean, we need assumptions to function. Um, we live uh, successfully based upon our assumptions. We assume the sun's going to rise in the east. We assume lots of different things. But every once in a while, we need to challenge those assumptions because everything around us is constantly in flux. Everything around us is changing all the time, which means that the assumptions that we had that helped us to become successful or to successfully negotiate the world around us may not be as effective as they were once before. Um, Thinking critically also means that you have to force yourself to suspend judgment. That's hard. It's just plain hard. Um, we use judgment based upon our assumptions all the time. It's how we get through the day. Um, but suspending judgment is important if you want to get to the kernel, to get to the core of something's truth. Uh, it also means revising the conclusions that you're likely to have made when you're confronted with new evidence. Um, when there's been a challenge to one of your beliefs and the evidence is accurate and it's overwhelming, um, we have to recognize that those conclusions need to be revised in order for us to continue to be successful in life, in business, in relationships, in anything. And one of the ways that you do that, one of the ways that you're able to do that is hopefully by by focusing on data, on facts, rather than on beliefs. It's been said often that everybody is entitled to their own opinion. There's no question about that, regardless of whether that opinion is accurate or not. What you're not entitled to is your own set of facts. No matter what you believe, water will still boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. You can believe something else, but that's not going to change the fact that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or that it freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's been proven. It's been objectively proven. So you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And those facts in the form of data, if you're going to think critically, have to have more weight. You have to give them more weight than your beliefs, recognizing that beliefs can change. And you also have to be willing to challenge new ideas. You have to be willing to challenge old ideas. You have to be willing to test them. That's how we get the data, right? Through the scientific method. So you have to continue to test your ideas in the great marketplace of ideas, and you have to recognize that in the process of living, we're all going to make mistakes. We make lots of them. I make probably more than anybody else you know. I think the more you do, the more actively involved you are in life, the busier you are, the more you're trying to accomplish, the more mistakes you're going to make. And like Thomas Edison, who was being challenged on the fact that he had 700 unsuccessful experiments in making the light bulb work, said to his critics that he didn't think they were unsuccessful because he now knew 700 different ways this wasn't going to work. So you have to test ideas. You have to recognize that your mistakes are data as long as you approach that information objectively, right? You have to be, I think you also have to, I don't know, I think you also have to consider the fact that possibilities and ideas exist around you without having to accept them, without moving through these first stages of thinking critically about something. So you don't have to accept them unless or until they've somehow been able to prove themselves in the marketplace of ideas. And probably one of the most important things that you can do if you want to practice critical thinking, and I really think it's a great idea for all of us. I think we don't do it enough. Probably should do it more. I think we'd be more successful with our decision making if we did. We'd make better decisions, and the better decisions would result in better results. And that is trying to continually look for things that other people have missed in the consideration of certainly a path or a situation in which you're trying to gather information, or that you're trying to move, or a space you're trying to move into. Try and find out what other people may have taken for granted or may have assumed. You know about that assumed thing. You make an ass of you and me. So I think this idea of critical thinking, especially on a Friday, especially on the first of the month, is something to consider. I think if you slow down and you take a look at these 8 basic corollaries, you will make better decisions. I think if you use any of them, you'll do better. I think if you use all of them, you'll do exceptionally well. So happy Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Stay well. Take care. I'm going to see Lewis Black tonight, so I hope I'm going to be laughing until my sides hurt. Stay well. Bye-bye.